Hey, Norcal Karters, this is Jason, and today we have a SuperKart sitting in front of us. So this particular SuperKart, it's owned by Mark Morrison, the current president of NCK Road Racing, and he's going to answer some questions for us. This is our long format video, and this particular SuperKart has a Honda CR250 single cylinder engine, so it's a two-stroke. And at Daytona, it reached a top speed of 126 miles an hour. So you can actually see the Daytona Kart Week decal. 126 miles an hour in this beast. So, Mark, let's get to it. We'll get Mark in here. Why don't you stand next to your kart, and we have a couple of questions for you. So you were saying at Daytona, this kart reached 126 miles an hour. I pulled his Micron data, and I verified that. The Micron showed 126 miles an hour. So that was at Daytona. And Mark, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mark Morrison, owner of this beast and president of Northern California Karters.
So don't get that confused with Norcal Karters. NCK is nckroadracing.com. They are the road racing segment. And honestly, the name Northern California Karters is a little misleading because they race up and down the coast on the big tracks. When I say big tracks, I'm talking about Laguna Seca. I'm talking about Sonoma Raceway on the big track. Or for us old folks, Sears Point. Thunder Hill Raceway, they run on both east and west. They go to Buttonwillow. They go to Willow Springs on the big track. Did I miss anything on the west coast?
Portland up north. Then there's the Ridge. There's 3 or 4 tracks up north. The old Seattle Speedway, which I don't know what it's called now because I don't go up there that often. But there's 4 tracks up north in northern Washington and Oregon that people run also.
Yeah, very cool. And I mean, just look at this kart. We will get into we're not going to call it suspension because, as you know, per the rules, a go-kart does not have suspension, but the geometry on the front end of this thing is pretty cool. It's fully adjustable, and we'll get into that in a minute. But look at the bodywork on this thing. And you can see that the radiator is tucked into the left side pod there. So halfway through the video here, Mark will pull the side pods, and we'll get a closer look. But let's just take a look at the kart. And like I said, we have the suspension, not suspension. We have the front end. Fully adjustable for camber and caster and ride height. And this particular kart is going to have 3 brakes, correct?
Yes.
1 on the rear?
Yes.
Not 2 on the rear?
Yeah.
So 1 rear brake on a live axle. Then the front, each left and right wheel has a brake set up. And it's kind of nice. We can actually get a shot in here.
They are 4-piston fronts and 6-piston rear calipers.
4-piston front calipers and 6-piston rear calipers.
Yes, sir.
And what's the manufacturer?
The Kelgate.
Kelgate.
Kelgate and or Anderson. These particular brakes are from Anderson.
Okay. Oh, and actually, that's a good point. What is the model of the chassis?
This is a 2014 Anderson Maverick, which is designed for the single-cylinder 250s.
Very cool. And let's get into some of the controls here. So I know this is going to be your clutch lever.
Yes, that's the clutch.
So we got the clutch lever there. We have a couple of switches next to the Micron. What do we have up here? Which switch is this?
So this switch here changes the curve in the ignition box to either the first curve or the second curve. If I need the ignition to be a little more aggressive, I can switch the curve. And then this is the on and off switch here.
On and off for the engine kill switch?
Yeah, engine kill.
All right, and then we have here on your control panel, what is the toggle?
This is the master switch for the battery system.
Okay.
Because we run a lot of electronics on here, so I have a battery in the side of the kart that at the end of the race I turn it off so it shuts it off so I'm not drawing power from it.
Got it. And then it looks like you have an aim. Is this for the Smarty Cam?
Yes, we have an aim Smarty Cam there. And then the camera is mounted on the back wing. So we record everything from the Smarty Cam so we can go back and look at the data. And I particularly like to watch the front tire and the scenery in front of me to find out if we're pushing or the back of the cart's coming around. And as you can see, I have a quick release steering wheel that is supposed to stay on there. There we go.
There we go. Now, is a quick release, is this mandatory for the SuperKarts?
No, it's not. It's mandatory for fat boys like me.
Got it. So this is just so you can get in and out of the cart a little
easier. It just
easier.
makes it easier to get in and out of the cart. It's mainly getting out of the cart.
And then you can see the seat setup here. You have the seat. It's almost, I don't want to call it a floating setup, but it's definitely a different mounting system than we're used to seeing on the sprint carts.
The seat is actually on a slide system. So the mount system back here is 2 bolts on the frame in a, we'll call it a goalpost design, so it will articulate. And then up front, on the front mount, is a slide system where we can actually slide the seat forward, which is right here on this tube. Just undo these 2 bolts, and then the seat will slide forward and backwards. And then also the seat, just 2 bolts and 2 pull pins, and then the seat comes out of the cart.
Okay.
To make it easier to work on it. Change to the gear drives.
So on a typical race weekend, how often would you move the seat forward or back?
Very seldom do we move it. It's mainly for driver comfort.
Okay.
So, and then we'll move the seat if we have to scale the cart out, which we scale the cart out maybe 2 or 3 times a year, or if we've had an excursion off the track, then we'll rescale the cart and balance it out.
Okay. So it's not like you can use it for tuning, but it's not like every other practice session you're moving the seat forward and back. It is where it is, and the cart's going to be happy.
It is for driver's comfort for me.
Got it. Okay. So we talked about the clutch lever here. We're going to come around to the other side of the cart. And this is the go fast lever, right?
Yes, that's the shifter. So it's conventional. So to push it away from you is downshifting.
Okay.
And then pulling it to you is upshifting. And this particular motor is a 5-speed. And then
so you have 5 and 6-speed available options on the SuperKarts?
Yes. This particular motor doesn't have the 6-speed option, no.
Got it.
It was only produced with a 5-speed. And then we also have the brake balance bar or bias to adjust the front and rear brake pressure.
So as you can see, you have the bias cable there, and it's going down to the front,
which runs down along the front, and there's a balance beam in the front that operates with the 2-piston caliper.
And I notice on your cart you have a very wide brake pedal.
Because I left foot brake more than I right foot brake.
So you're actually doing both?
Yes.
Got it.
And I prefer to left foot brake because I can actually control the cart sometimes in a turn with brake and throttle at the same time.
Got it. Okay. So you can do right or left braking, even though it's connected to the same master cylinder setup there.
Yes. So it's got a 2-piston master cylinder with a balance bar in it.
And then on the right, that chrome pedal, that's the go fast pedal. That's your throttle pedal.
Over here, yes.
Yep. And then here's another shot of the front geometry and how everything is pretty adjustable with the Heim joints.
So we can adjust the caster camber. This is our caster we adjust, and then we also in the rear is our camber bar. Underneath the cart is a threaded rod into the kingpin assembly that we can adjust ride height, and we do this also on the scales.
Oh, so you'll actually set it up on the scale.
Yes.
And then adjust the camber and caster.
We do everything loaded.
Everything loaded, okay.
As if it's on the track.
Got it. And then here's a close-up of the Honda CR250. It looks like your engine builder is Swedetech Racing.
Yes, it is.
Norcal engine builder out of the Wilton area. So that's a single-cylinder CR250 2-stroke engine. And then, let's see, we'll work our way to the back, and then we'll have you pull the side pods off.
Okay.
So you have your cooling lines running back to the radiator. This cart currently is set up with 2 radiators. You have one on the rear.
Yes.
And we mentioned the one in the side pod. So,
yes, so this is the primary for now.
Yep.
And then it goes into the secondary radiator and cools off. On cold days, this radiator comes out and we only run the side radiator.
Got it. So on cold days, they go down to 1 radiator. And you can see how long the exhaust is on this cart. That is the silencer or muffler, depending on who you talk to. And then it looks like, is that a Sprag setup hiding down there?
Yes, there's a Hager Sprag on this.
So explain to those like myself, I don't know what a Sprag is. So what is it, and what does it do?
So basically, a Sprag is a drive system. If the chain is spinning faster than the axle, it will drive the axle. And if you come into a turn and coast, then the axle spins faster than the motor, it'll coast again. If you decide to stick a motor at the top end, it will free spin and won't lock the rear tires up and send you for a ride.
Got it. So you do not have engine braking for the most part. All right, let's pull some of these side pods off.
Okay, well, let's pull this side pod off, and we can see the duct system for the cooling.
So while Mark's working on the side pod, you can see he has a carbon fiber floor tray here, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but it's not flat. There's some tunneling going on there. And we'll have Mark talk to us about the front nose and the tunnels and the diffuser at the back and how that affects the handling. Does it make a difference? Does it not make a difference? And we'll have Mark go into that in a minute. But here's some bottom shots of the SuperKart. And you said this was an Anderson chassis, correct?
Yes, it's made in England by Russell Anderson, which he is probably the top SuperKart builder in the country. The F1 teams have a lot of SuperKart teams, and usually once a year, the manufacturer, Anderson, will actually wind tunnel these karts to improve the bodywork and aerodynamics on the karts.
Got it. So here's the radiator. Sorry, I don't know why I mispronounced that. Actually, before we do the radiator, now we have a close-up of this rod. What does this adjust?
This adjusts the caster front to rear.
Okay.
So we can, and of course, it's left and right thread, so we can pull it back to add more caster to the kart. And then this is the camber bar, so we can control the positive negative camber at the tire. So for us in the road racing, we like to see a full contact patch on the tire. We don't want to see where it's not riding out here. So in the turns, we want all the rubber on the ground. In the straightaways, we don't care if we're on a half-inch track, but we want all as much rubber in the turns as we can get. So we set it up more for what the tire wear pattern looks like.
So once again, this bar leading to the rear, that is for the caster. So that's going to tilt the kingpin inclination back or forward, and then your camber is going to go, I'm going to say in or out, for lack of a better term. And then, so we have that, and then here's a close-up shot of the seat mount, the sliding seat mount we were talking about earlier.
Right, so all I have to do is just undo this clamp, and then the seat system will slide forward and backwards.
And then here's the ducting for the radiator. So we have the side pod off. So you have the ducting for the radiator, and it tunnels down quite a bit towards the rear, and it's sealed off in the back, forcing the air through the radiator and around the kart.
Yes, and then the air ends up being actually funneled, and it'll be siphoned out the back side of the kart because of the low pressure area being created here. So this is the high pressure side. Then the vacuum, because of the wing and the diffuser, will actually draw this air out. So I don't feel any of this hot air as I'm driving.
And once again, you're doing at Daytona 126 miles an hour. Thunder Hill, you said what, 115, 120?
115, 120.
So, again, if your buddy has that Harbor Freight engine on his go-kart and it looks like a yard cart and he says it does 120 miles an hour and it does not look like this, your buddy's lying to you. So here's the left side of the kart. Get some close-up shots of the frame here and the rear brakes. That's the 6-piston caliper manufactured by Kelgate. We'll come around the other side. If you want to pull the other pod off. So these karts are just pretty darn cool. Again, this is an Anderson SuperKart with a Honda CR250 engine. And we were going to pull the front nose cone off, but we'll let Mark go into the geometry and the angles of the front nose and why it's critical. And I didn't want him to pull the nose off so we could see the pedals and everything because we got a clear shot from the back. But Mark, if we pull the front nose cone off, then what do you have to do to reset everything?
So if I pull it off, then I need to set it on the ground, and I'll actually check it at every track that I go to, is I have to have the nose at 25 millimeters off the ground, which is just roughly an inch at this point right here. And then I need to make sure that it's equal on each side. So as the air goes underneath the cart, hits the diffuser, we can speed the air up or slow the air down. So the faster the air, the more downforce the belly pan will create. So that means we'll raise the nose up a little bit. We lower it down, it'll take some of that downforce that the belly pan's creating away from it.
And let's say you're off by 5 millimeter. Is that going to be a drastic effect?
Yes, you can feel it.
5 millimeter
Yes.
on the inclination of your nose, you're going to feel that as a driver.
And it depends on the track. So Laguna, we want more downforce, and we need it in the we'll call it the mid-range speed area, because Laguna is a busy track as far as turns. It doesn't have the straightaways like Daytona. So Daytona will trim the kart out to eliminate drag and aero, and hopefully we can get past that brick wall.
Okay.
Which is for, every kart has a brick wall that it's got to push so much air.
And then I notice here on your front nose, you also have 2 holes running through them.
These are for brake duct cooling.
Okay.
Which we run hoses from here to the front calipers to keep them cool.
Okay, so that's for your brakes.
Uh-huh.
And then we have an undershot here. There's the front end geometry set up on another Heim joint. And then here's the engine shot. Single cylinder CR250. Single pipe, because single cylinder engine. You have your fuel pump here. You have your coil here.
Yes.
Down here, that's your programmable ignition.
Yes, sir.
And again, Mark mentioned earlier, this is how he toggles between 2 different curves on the ignition. We have our carburetor, air filter. Let's see. And you'll also notice the whole cradle system for the engine is quite different than in the sprint kart stuff.
So the motor is on a H-post articulating system.
H-post?
H.
Okay.
It's a cross member and then or goal post, H-post.
Yep.
This rod end combination sets the chain tension.
Okay.
This combination here controls the downshifts and stuff and keeps the chain in tension. So when you downshift, the chain will actually want to take the motor and rotate the motor.
Got it.
And so without a sprag, it'll rotate. So that device there stops that.
Okay.
We also run an O2 sensor in the system. So we tune by what our lambda is. And then I also have on here is we have a throttle position sensor, so we can go in and see at what position for RPM, throttle position, and what the O2 sensor tells us, and then we can tune the jets and the slide and everything according to that.
And then let's see if we can get another shot of the pipe coming out of the exhaust, wrapping around. Again, the side pod is off now. We're on the right side of the cart. Tucked in, and then out through the muffler or silencer. And then let's wrap the video up. It looks like you have some adjustment here on the rear wing as well.
Yes. So on the wing, of course, we create a lot of downforce of the wing, which is produced from the bottom side of the spoiler or the wing and not the top side. So all our downforce is created from the bottom. Here on the sides, we have adjustments. So if I want to create more downforce at Sonoma, I'll adjust this to give me more bite, especially in the winter. We'll add more downforce with the wing. So this is more of a for mid-range to high speed, and we'll adjust it like that. But right now it's set for basically 0, and at speed, the max downforce this wing will produce is 650 pounds.
650 pounds downforce.
Downforce.
At your max adjustment.
Yeah, max adjustment. So, and mainly we're only using 12 to 16 inches of each side of the wing. This piece here, as the air comes through, we learn that the air was hitting here and tumbling, and we're having heating issues. So by putting this, we'll call it a diffuser up here. So now as the air hits, now we're creating a siphon to pull air out of the radiator.
So you had overheating issues because you had dirty air behind the radiator?
Yes.
At the speeds that you're going.
Right.
So you created this panel to clean the air up.
So as the air comes off, it hits, right? Now it's creating the vacuum to pull the air out.
Interesting. See, just little things that we don't run into when we're dealing with the sprint kart stuff.
Now I can take this off, and it opens up even more things to see. But basically, the diffuser has 3 divisions on it. There's 2 tunnels on each side of the cart, which I don't know if we can see because of the stand.
Yeah, we're on the left tunnel now.
And then if we look at the cart on the ground, it's actually the cart goes in the floor pan is flat, and then it goes this way on the sides, and it has about 3/8 of an inch drop on each side. So there's actually formed a tunnel underneath the cart.
So we'll see if we can get a picture of that. So again, not a flat pan.
No, and the pan is PVC type material, but it's corrosion resistant, so it's not your polypropylene.
Okay, you're talking about this part here,
Yes.
not the carbon looking
Yeah,
pan.
that back there is Kevlar. This front piece up here is carbon fiber foot tray with the plastic underneath it.
Got it. Okay.
I've had stuff in years past that's popped through the floor, and I like to keep my feet.
Yeah, that'd be a little dangerous. Well, Mark, thank you for the information on your SuperKart here, powered by a Honda CR250. And we're going to see you in October,
Yes.
2024 at Laguna Seca. So that's going to be very exciting. Norcal Karters will have a lot of information on that. We are actually putting a focus on the fans because you have sold out that event for the
Yes, we
racers.
sold out the event. I've got 160 drivers. I'm working on with the track right now. Hopefully we can go to 180 drivers.
So you can still sign up and get on the waiting list, but there's no promises because it's a waiting list. That's what you get for dragging your feet and waiting to see who's going to sign up. But we will be doing focus on the fans. So if you're a local kart shop and you'd like to have representation at this race, it's going to be an international event. You have drivers coming in from where?
We've got 2 drivers coming from Mexico City. We've got 5 drivers coming from the Netherlands, 2 from England, and then 1 from Canada. And then we've got all 48 states in this part of the United States covered.
And then do you have anyone coming out of Australia this year or New Zealand?
I have a company coming from a father-son racer that is coming from, their base is Australia, but he works for the oil industry, so he is stationed in Texas sometimes, but his home is Australia.
Australia. So this is an international event.
And then we do have a South African coming as well.
Yeah, truly international. Laguna Seca, October 2024. So again, if you are a business and you'd like to help support Mark and the road racers, we are offering wristband packets. You can buy 10 at a time. And basically, you can give those away or do whatever you want with them to help bring in the fans, bring in visible eyes. We are working on doing a live stream, details to come on that. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background with NCK, nckroadracing.com for all the information. But Laguna Seca, it's going to be exciting.
Yes.
And Mark, I appreciate you taking the time to bring the kart out and giving us a chance to take a look at this beast.
You're more than welcome. Anything I can do to help boost road racing on the West Coast, that's all I'm about is to keep road racing alive.
Oh, and last thing that I omitted earlier. I probably omitted a lot of things, so I'll have to catch up with Mark at a different time to answer all your questions that you may have. But the way they start this thing is an external starter, and they plug it in right here. So the external starter hooks onto the flywheel and the crankshaft, and they crank it over.
Yes.
So with that being said, go check out nckroadracing.com. And Mark Morrison, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.